All right, Rabosai, good morning. Let us begin. We are continuing Mesillas Yesharim, making our way quickly towards the end of the Sefer. We continue. Perek Chavav. Mafside Hamidahim. Rabosai, what are the things which detract or prevent a person from acquiring the midah of Kiddusha? So he outlines a number of things. Number one, Chasron Hayidios Ha'amitios, a lack of knowledge of core fundamental principles. Which, again, it just means, remember again, what we ended off yesterday was Ramchal highlighting the need to really take time by oneself to think about, to cogitate, to contemplate on the greatness of Hashem, the awesomeness of Hashem, and certain core principles of our relationship with Hashem. So obviously the converse of that is, if a person doesn't possess those core principles, that could undermine the ability to forge a meaningful relationship with Hashem. Furthermore, V'rov hachevra in bnei Adam, this is incredible. And too much socializing. Too much socializing detracts from one's kedusha. Why? Ki achormius motzies mino v'ner mischazek v'nisheres hanefesh lekuda bo v'lo tetzim ma'asara. Literally, again, I will say, because sometimes, remember again, socialization by definition is the interaction with other physical material beings, which on one hand, of course, is very beautiful, but sometimes what it does is too much social interaction sometimes could bring out certain things which may not necessarily be healthy or productive for the acquisition or development of one's personal kedusha. And I will say, what this also really comes down to is, remember, in yesterday's shiur we spoke about the idea ultimately of hisbodedus, of a person taking time by themselves to be able to focus on a variety of different ideas that we've been discussing in this chapter. So whereas socialization definitely has its place, being alone with oneself, taking time with oneself is incredibly important as well. So if a person is always a social being and always interacting, sometimes that could have negative repercussions. Here he says, Bihi pardomehem. Sometimes when you separate yourself a little bit from people, Visharo levad, and you remain by yourself, V'yochin asma al hashras kidushaso, and a person prepares himself ultimately again for the hashra, for the manifestation of his kiddusha. Hine baderech sherotze leilech bo yalichuhu. Baruch Hu sees that I'm striving to acquire Kiddusha, He will help me along that path. Ube'ezer ha'eloki asher yutan lo, and as a result of the divine assistance that I receive, tiskaber nafsho bo, my soul will become stronger. Utinatzach es hagufnius, and I'll be able to overcome the physicality. V'tikbak b'kedusha seis baruch v'sushlam bo, and I'll be able to cling to the Kiddusha of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and find completion in it. So I will say, this is really, so again, therefore the Ramchal says two things which prevent a person from acquiring Kiddusha. Number one, a lack of thought, a lack of like contemplation of the concepts that we've outlined, and too much socialization. Sometimes it's important ultimately, again, to have a little bit of time by oneself in order that one, they're really intertwined, in order that one could contemplate, in order that one could think, in order that one could cogitate on the various things that I have to accomplish. And when I put in this effort, then ultimately, again, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as we began this chapter, HaKadosh Baruch Hu blesses my efforts with reciprocal divine investment, allowing me to get to the level of Kiddusha. Misham yale al ma'ala gavo yosem v'hi ruach hakodesh. Now, listen, there is even a higher level than Kiddusha. And what is that? That's Ruach HaKodesh. That's Ruach HaKodesh. Now, we'll say, Ruach HaKodesh lav daka means prophecy, but Ruach HaKodesh means clarity. We've spoken about this before. There is Nevuah, which is prophecy, and there's Ruach HaKodesh. Ruach HaKodesh can certainly mean the element of prophecy, but it doesn't have to be prophetic in nature. Ruach HaKodesh means I have the ability to see the world, to see life, to see myself with incredible clarity. That my understanding, I will say, is I'm able to understand things on a higher level. Which I will say, it makes sense. The idea is that if I go through this entire process, right, I climb the rungs of the ladders of Mesillas Yesharim, one of the effects of it is I see the world differently. I just see the world differently. I see things with a sense of clarity that you can't possess if you don't go through this spiritual journey. He goes on, he says, El ma'ala kol kach yidola. Person is able to reach a level of dveikus, of connection, that's just of a different level. Shekvar yimaser biyadam aftech shal tchias hamesim. Now this is actually pretty dramatic. He says that there's actually the ability to reach a level of tchias hamesim. Tchias hamesim means resurrection of the dead. Now, obviously, resurrection of the dead is usually the purview of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What he's pointing out over here is that if a person pushes themselves and literally develops in these sequential steps, a person is able to reach a level of holiness where they are fully actualizing their tselem Elokim, their divine image. Now there are examples, right? Even though again the Gemara Mesillas Yesharim says that 3 keys that HaKadosh Baruch Hu never hands over to man. One of those keys is the mafteach of Tchias HaMesim, of Chaya, right, of life. Hashem does that. That's belongs to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yet we do see examples of where Hashem did give over that key to man. He gave it over to Eliyahu. He gave it over to Elisha, because there are people ultimately who develop themselves in such a way where they are, like David HaMelech says in Tehillim, "V'tachsereyu me'at me'elokim." Man is just a little bit less than God. And it sounds like a dramatic statement, but there is the ability to push oneself to that level where literally, again, it's just a notch. It's just a notch underneath. Shebiyosu yisparach shema mekara chayim, hanosin chayim l'kol chay. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the source of life, the one who gives life to every living thing. O k'ma'amar v'zichron lebracha, shlosh years, shlosha maftechos lo nimsru biyad shaliach. Mafteach tchias hamesim. Hine hadavik bo yisparach devekos gamar. But he who clings to HaKadosh Baruch Hu with a complete sense of devekos, yuchal limshoch mimeno yisparach afilu meshach chayim atzmam. Such a person has the ability to draw out of HaKadosh Baruch Hu even the essence of life itself. Now, I will say, let's be clear, right? It's always important to have goals in life, right? I'm telling you right now, one of your goals does not have to be, I'm going to secure the key of resurrection from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Right? My goal is to be the kind of person that gets mafteach shel chayov, tchias hamesim from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's not what Ramchal is gearing us towards. What he's gearing us towards, Rabbi say, is understand the potential that we possess. That's all. The fact that this option exists for man, right? The fact that there were human beings who ultimately were able to borrow that key of Tchias HaMesim from Hashem, and those people were human beings, just like me and you. But they're human beings who chose to push themselves. They're human beings who chose to self-actualize. They're human beings who chose to go ahead and go through the process that Ramchal is outlining over here. And they reached the level. They did it. What does that tell us? All that tells us is it's possible. It's possible. And that's all you need to know, says the Ramchal, about what is truly possible in this world. And to reach a level where I could take the Mafteach Shachai from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's dramatically amazing. That is dramatically amazing. And that's the goal. Again, I want to be clear. The goal is not necessarily that I need to secure that key. That's not the goal. But the fact that that level is possible, that gives me incredible chizuk. And that, remember again, that Ramchal wouldn't write this in here if it wasn't possible for each of us. Because if it's just something that's possible for Eliyahu and Elisha, that's fine, but that has nothing to do with me. If it's here, it's because the possibility exists for each of us. Incredible. He goes on, he says, therefore, what you see from here is that someone who attaches himself to HaKadosh Baruch Hu with a complete attachment, there's the ability to literally draw life from HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. Because this is the end of the Braisa. Ukidusha mevia lidei ruach hakodesh. Now, I will say, if you notice, by the way, the way Mesillas Yesharim, the way Mesillas Yesharim is structured is, remember, this is all the statement that we find in the Gemara in Meseches Avodah Zarah, where the Gemara outlines this step process for spiritual actualization. Right? So remember Pinchas ben Yair is, right? Multiple step. Now, Reb Pinchas ben Yair, if you notice, in the Ramchal himself, the last rung that he focuses on is Kedusha. That's where he stops. What he's telling us is, understand, Pinchas ben Yair's ladder doesn't stop at Kedusha. There's two more rungs. What are the two more rungs? The rung after Kedusha is Ruach HaKodesh, and the rung after Ruach HaKodesh is Tchias HaMesim. Now, the Ramchal doesn't go into that because, I will say, our goal is not the cultivation of Ruach HaKodesh, right? And our goal is not to acquire the key of Tchias HaMesim. So the Ramchal's Sefer stops at Kedusha. But he's just pointing out to the reader, just understand, dear reader, understand what you're capable of. Understand you're capable of acquiring Ruach HaKodesh. Understand you're capable on some level of securing the key of Tchias HaMesim. And just knowing that that's possible, should give us an incredible amount of chizuk. We'll also stop over here for today. And Meretz Hashem, again, Sunday, Monday, we'll finish up the Sefer. We'll say, Shkoyach.